at that emotion.
Around the outside. It's time to bring the action.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of SMX Insider. I am Jason Weigandt. He is Daniel Blair. And although we do pose as experts or insiders for the SuperMotocross World Championship, we're glad to be wrong sometimes. I will admit I didn't have Justin Barcia and Ken Roczen in a showdown to the checkered flag to win at Indianapolis Monster Energy Supercross, but I'm glad to be wrong in this case, Daniel.
I had insight on that in 2015, 2016, 2023. No, I did not either, because I had this pegged as a three-way battle. No one's breaking into the podium. No one else is going to win. And then there's those two just going at it late. And I'm here for it, Jason. I feel like the sport and the series needed an injection of energy. And what two better athletes than Ken Roczen and Justin Barcia to give us a show? And I don't know where you're at moving forward, but I've got this belief now that everybody in the field is going to go, hey, someone else can win this thing. So I feel it's going to be a very motivating Monday for Plessinger and Anderson and Barcia and Roczen, because you know what? Other people can win, Jason.
Yeah, and they really earned it. You get Cooper Webb in the mix as he was late in the race on a rough, rutted track, and we've all seen this story many times, especially with Ken Roczen leading. But they were better than him down the stretch, and they were certainly better than Tomac. And Chase Sexton had the same problem he's had too many times this year with the crash. So, yeah, they earned this one. Okay, you were in the building. Just tell me about the crowd reaction when Roczen leads on the last lap and then wins it.
It's honestly like it's the feeling of being in the industry, being in the sport, being in the stands, when you hear that, it revs everybody up. They were so into every moment. It was blow by blow, corner by corner. And yeah, it's a special, special feeling. And again, what it does is it gives all the riders in the field a chance to be like, I want that. I can get that. I'm coming out swinging in Detroit. And it truly makes us feel like there's more people that can win. Unlike the 250 class, Jason, where I think there's just one guy who can win, I'm almost ready to just say this thing's a wrap.
Yes, a 22-point lead, and the Lawrence brothers on both coasts now have each won all but one race. This track was gnarly, it was wild, it led to unpredictable racing. Unless Hunter Lawrence is involved in the 250s, there was nothing unpredictable about that race.
An unbelievable performance, perfection, complete, all the adjectives that can explain what perfection is. Give them all to Hunter Lawrence. He was perfect in Indy.
Okay, time for our big interview. We're bringing on the team manager for the Progressive X-Star and Twisted Tea Suzuki team, Larry Brooks. You guys got to win. Every truck was shut down and packing up on Saturday night, but you guys were still there celebrating. First, just tell me the atmosphere, post-race, even into this week. What's it been like to have this win?
I mean, it was so emotional, you know. I think Kenny and the team has been working so hard trying to make the motorcycle comfortable for Kenny. You know, it's not really something crazy, but it was more like the comfort of the motorcycle. And I think once we found that, we went through Daytona, and the result wasn't as good as what we thought it was going to be, but then it gave Kenny another week to get used to the bike. And then we rolled into the weekend. We didn't get a great start in the heat, so we really concentrated on the start, made a couple of changes to the clutch before the main event. And, you know, it got him off the gate real well. And then he was able to ride the bike like Kenny Roczen rides the bike. And he rode terrific. I mean, the sprint that he put on at the beginning and then just kept that pace the whole race, it was amazing.
This team hasn't ever won a race before, and you're back, by the way, at the highest level. What was it like for you and the staff over there?
It was to give the team their first win was something really special. You know, the team owners, Aaron and Dustin, I think they were on cloud nine. You know, and the whole team, you know, because the whole team works together. It's we've got a unique situation over there that everyone is bonded together and everyone wants to win. And, you know, I think everyone was a little bit in shock for a while. And as that kind of wore off, we drank a couple Twisted Teas and then it was just, everything started kind of sinking in. And, you know, we just realized that, hey, we could probably win more of these.
So last thing, how do we get you to cement those clickers and not go all the way back to the drawing board 2-3 weeks from now? Because this has happened in racing before.
I'll tell you, we're not changing anything. I mean, all through Daytona, all through this past weekend, we didn't change, but maybe a click or two. So I think we're pretty happy with where we are. I think it's just a matter of going through the motions of going to the races, and we need a little luck. Always need a little luck in racing, but we're definitely keeping the settings that we have for the rest of the season.
All right, good to hear. And just for you, man, congrats on being back. It has to be almost a surreal feeling to be all the way back to the top of this sport. So congrats on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, race fans, with the introduction of the Supermotocross World Championships, we are now in a new world where stats and trends and data gets to be expanded and explored. Clinton Fowler, Fowler's Facts, is going to bring you more information on how we are bringing stats to you now with a combination of Supercross, motocross, and the introduction of the Supermotocross World Championship playoffs.
Supermotocross is the combination of Supercross and motocross, not just a playoff. This is really important. We have 2 individual championships that combine to make a third, and we've added the playoffs to crown a single Supermotocross champion. Supercross equals stadium racing. Motocross equals natural terrain racing. Supermotocross is the combination of both. We also have 2 classes. The 450 class is the premier championship. These are the absolute best supermotocross athletes in the world. The 250 class is the up-and-coming supermotocross athletes starting their professional careers. Their ultimate goal is to graduate to the 450 premier class. 450s equal the premier class, 250s equals the up-and-coming athletes. When we look at the stats, we've got 6 measurements. Sounds complex, but is really simple. For the 450s, the premier class, we track 450 Supercross, 450 Motocross, and 450 Supermotocross, the combination of both of those. There's one exception from 1986 to 1992. The Premier Motocross Series was split into 2 classes, the 250s and the 500s. We include both of these in the 450 Premier class to keep the integrity of historical comparisons. For the 250s is the exact same with no exceptions. We track 250 Supercross, 250 Pro Motocross, and the combination 250 Supermotocross. There you have it, Supermotocross stats explained.
Okay, time for 30-second board. Hot topics in the Supermotocross World Championship. Let's start with Honda rolling out the red carpet. You don't often see this. Honda has great motorsport success, both with their Acura sports car team in IMSA and a long history in IndyCar. And they've been bringing their Supercross riders like Chase Sexton and the Lawrence brothers over. So what better place in Indy to give them the full experience?
Yeah, that was rad. I mean, what a tie-in for Indianapolis, for the 500, for the Supercross. I thought that was cool. And what always stands out to me, Jason, is the respect that the Supercross riders have for the IndyCar guys and the IndyCar guys have for Supercross. You talk to a Supercross rider, like, man, these IndyCar guys are crazy. They go so fast. The IndyCar guys are like, you guys jump through the air like crazy people. So I think it's funny how they both think each other are psychopaths, with full respect. And in reality, Jason, they both are. I mean, these are the best of the best in their fields, and that's why they're so elite, because they're a little psycho.
Yeah, they got to experience just how wild the car racing can be with Hunter Lawrence and Chase Sexton getting a look at the simulator and also getting to hop inside an IndyCar. Here's their thoughts on that.
Having the races here, you know, the guys that are in there operating it, it's cool. You know, we kind of see eye to eye a little bit, I guess you could say, and just the mutual respect, you know, like they respect us immensely, we respect them like crazy as well, because it's like we're both looking at, you know, each other's discipline in just such awe of like, oh dude, like you drive so fast, and they're like, dude, we can't believe how much the track changes and you guys still race the same thing. And it's cool, it's really cool. Like I was saying earlier, like when you have 2, you know, guys at the top of their game in different sports and different disciplines, it's really cool because you both want to pick each other's brains on everything that goes on, so it's unreal.
Yeah, being with Honda is awesome because they're such a huge corporation and they have so many different branches of racing, and it's just cool to be able to kind of come together and link motocross, IndyCar, all that stuff together. And yeah, like I said, they touch in pretty much every area of racing, which is cool for us to be a part of, and hopefully we can do more of this kind of come together in the future.
All right, that's really cool for Honda and Acura to put that together for their riders. We don't always get the inside look in plain view for this show, but we totally did with a new start gate that we saw them prototyping and testing on press day. What did you see? We don't know much about this, but What did you think when you saw this gate on Friday?
I didn't think anything other than, what the heck is that? There's these silver gates out there, and some guys are taking them, some are not. But it looks like these are maybe prototypes, or they're in development right now for the Pro Motocross Championship, Jason. So it looks like the greats might be coming out this summer. And right now they're going through the testing phase.
Yeah, and personally, I like the dirt start. I'm not a fan of the great start. I like the variants. But what I do like about these ones, if they stay this way, they're a lot narrower than the greats that we've seen in Supercross the last few years. There have been some shenanigans the last couple seasons of riders trying to shift left or to right to avoid a rut. I don't think it's going to be possible with this narrower great that appears to be coming in. So something to keep an eye on both for this summer and then for 2024 in Supercross. We'll see how that turns out. We know how this is going to turn out. Redbud has just announced it's their 50th anniversary for their Pro Motocross race, as if we need an excuse to have a party at Redbud.
Yeah, it's really an unenthusiastic crowd at Redbud.
Yeah.
So they had to tag the 50th anniversary so people would actually get excited over it. Dude, Redbud is Redbud no matter what, but you throw the 50th year on there with the summer we have coming, Eli's back, Jet's going 450, Tom Vial in the 250. There's so many reasons to be pumped for Pro Motocross. But yeah, Redbud's going to be a wild time, Jason. I can't wait to be there and check it out. And just gives us an extra reason to be excited for a race that's already awesome.
Yeah, you know, that's in the Midwest, and we tend to, in this sport, think of that as being a hot race because it's in July. But we were in the same general region this weekend, and it was cold. And it'll be a cold again at Detroit in the Midwest here in March. So we saw tire warmers, road racing style, getting busted out. What's that all about?
Well, when you're in normal weather conditions and temperatures, the tires are like room temp. Think of it as water, okay? But then when you go to Indy or you go to Detroit and Minneapolis at times, it's so cold that the tires get brittle. So they put the tire warmers on just to keep them warm so that when they roll them out into the stadium, they actually settle back down to room temp. So think of it that way. Think of it like water. They come in with some hot water, and by the time the gate drops, it's actually just at normal temp. So we will not see that at Redbud. No. Like you said, Detroit's this weekend, not too far away, but you'll probably see those in Detroit. It's going to be really cold.
Now, what was really interesting, there has been this age front in this sport. We've talked about the riders are getting older and more successful into their 30s, but that's also leading to more dads. So we had an all-dad podium with Ken Roczen, Justin Barcia, and Cooper Webb. So we can finally forever put to rest this argument that when a rider gets married or has children, he's not going to take risks on the racetrack and he's going to slow down. I mean, that was a narrative as recently as 2020 when Tomac had a baby, clinched his first Supercross title, and wasn't as good in 2021. He's obviously squelched all that himself personally. What can you say about the three guys on the podium? They're riding well also.
I think they all got the hint when they saw Eli win. They said, that's the missing piece of the puzzle. I just need to start having kids. Now they all have. AP was fourth. He has a kid. Anderson's fifth. He's got one on the way. You have to wonder if Cincerello and Sexton and some of these guys are going, man, that's all I need to be up on the podium. I need to have a baby. But no, it was really cool to see. And it does show that the sport has changed a lot. The old school days of these young dudes just winning championships is over. We have some veteran dads now that have mastered their craft. They're up there winning and on the podium, and they got the baby on there with them as well. So I think it's great, and it really shows our sport and how mature our athletes have become in this moment.
Well, I noticed that Anaheim won. I felt like the crowd was louder there than usual. And one of my theories on that is because these riders are sticking around longer, they're more familiar to the fans. The fans know these guys inside and out, and no one illustrates that better than Ken Roczen getting a win. They've ridden the roller coaster from teenage wonder kid to maybe he's washed up and done to now revitalizing himself with an old brand. What was that crowd like there, Daniel, on the floor when he came across and won that race?
I'd say, to be fair, I'll give it top 5 moments that I've ever experienced in person. And 1 through 5 is all kind of mushed together too. So it's in one of those, in that realm. Wow. It was amazing, man. Watching him walk along the side of the wall and having them just screaming at him, and he's waving and they're getting louder. It was unbelievable. Of course, that's after, but during too, man. I was on the edge of the podium. I almost fell off. It was so exciting, but I think the after part and the riders coming up to him and the respect, it was a moment to me that was bigger than just a main event. And then to hear Ken Roczen afterwards talk about this maybe being like the best win of his career. I think, Jason, I don't even think he blinked. I think he just let it rip and said, this is the best.
At the top, I mean, granted, I didn't win for 3 years there after one of the injuries, which was huge. But this one, I don't know. You know, there's a lot of critics out there, and I believe that I could win on the bike, but then to make it happen is also a whole other story, right? So this was unreal. You know, after the last few weekends, especially, it ranks at the very top, I think, especially for my team too. Like that, I've been able to do that a couple of times. I feel like same with RCH, and now here, this is the first win ever for the team. Like that is a huge accomplishment, and yeah, it's one on the top for sure.
Oh, that's such good stuff from Roczen there. He's always been well-spoken, but again, he's so seasoned now, as are Webb and Barsha and Tomac and the other riders he's battling with. I feel like they know the right things to say. They know how to express it, and that's another advantage to having riders that are a little more savvy, even on the media and fan side. What a great win this was for the sport of Supercross and Roczen and Suzuki. Any way you want to slice it is great. And Cooper Webb now the points leader. It's a weird situation there with Webb. I just want to touch on that. Yes, he had said in the press conference it's hard for it to sink in that he has the points lead because he got beat. 5 minutes to go in a race, Ken Roczen's up front. I mean, we've seen that story a million times. I was waiting for Webb to rip Roczen's heart out again. It didn't happen. But you think that actually might have partially been because of points. Webb thinks his way through these scenarios.
I think he outsmarted himself a little bit because I think he was well aware that Chase was on the ground, that Eli was way back. So instead of going into crazy 5-minute to-go mode, I think he made the conscious decision, you know what, I've done a lot tonight. I think I've gained some points. I don't even know if maybe I have the points lead, maybe I don't. So I'm going to take this one. And I know that because when he came up the track, I walked down to him from the podium. And before I even said anything, unprovoked, he turned to me and said, red plate? And I said, yes. And he went, okay. And he turned. So I think he was well aware of what he was doing. The bigger picture was there. But I think he out-tricked himself because I do think he could have won that race. But hey, he's a two-time champ. He's smarter than me. And at the end of the day, Jason, he has the red plate. Wow.
This is interesting. We normally start hot or not here, but we have a topic, Daniel, that's going to fit both these ruts. I know the riders are never pumped to hit Supercross rhythm lanes with ruts, but I think it leads to better racing sometimes, and it did on Saturday.
Yeah, too bad, riders. We like it. But no, really, it's hot and not.
Are we not entertained?
It was entertaining. Sorry, guys. But it's a debatable topic because I have friends of mine who are like, I didn't really like the ruts. It took away from the bar banging and the block passing, and I want to see these guys at full speed. And I agree, I do too. But then I got other people on the other side saying, no, it's hot because I get to see the best riders in the world challenged in ways that we don't get to see all the time. I land right in the middle. I like it, but I think for me, it comes down to being at the right location. And that's part of Indianapolis's character. When you go to Indy, you know it's going to be soft, it's going to be ready, and the fans know what they're going to get. So I don't want it all the time, but I like when we go to certain locations where we know the character of the building, we know what we're going to get, and it delivers. So Jason, for me, hot and not. It's hot and not for me, but it's just got to be the right location, and it was this week.
Yeah, it's kind of like Triple Crowns. We love to see them, but we don't want to see them all 17 times. Kind of the same thing with ruts. Now, you would think that Eli Tomac would be someone who would thrive in these conditions. He's a rough, rugged, outdoor kind of guy. And I think when we saw the ruts, we thought this might favor him, but this ended up being another weirdo Eli ride. Shades of Tampa. We were freaking out after Tampa thinking, is this a bigger problem? But now I think we know. When he's not feeling it, he's not going to risk it. He just takes a top 5 or so.
Well, since they're lined up side by side or up and down, I'm going to put Tomac and Sexton together right now on this, Jason, and I just want you to roll with me on this. Cooper Webb doesn't seem to have really any issues right now, right? It's pretty good all the way through. Sexton, we know his issues. He crashes. He's actually crashed in 7 of the 9 races that he's been in this year. Tomac, though, is starting to show a trend, and that's the problem. That's why I'm putting him with Chase Sexton right now. There is a major flaw that needs to be solved, and that's his assessment and ability to handle the tough nights for him. Tampa was very, very difficult. He didn't like the soil, so he kind of took the night off. Not night off of racing, but the night off of being special. He did the same thing in Indy. And here's the thing, as Ricky says, the championship starts in Daytona, and what he means by that is you can't mess up anymore. You can't take nights off anymore. And for Sexton, who has his evident issues, Tomac's issues are now becoming a trend and evident. He takes nights off of being a winner when he doesn't feel comfortable. Well, guess what? There's more races like that coming. So, Tomac fans, I know you want to just punch me through the screen right now, but I'm sorry. You've seen it too. There's a major flaw that needs to be addressed if he wants to run with Webb deep in the championship, because Cooper Webb has no weaknesses right now today.
One other thing on our not list is the points in the 250 East Division. If you're Hunter Lawrence and Honda, this is great. The 22-point lead, almost one entire race over the rest of the field. But kind of like this rut situation. For us watching, it is no longer compelling. He looks flawless right now.
Perfection, complete, whatever word you want to use to attach it to Hunter Lawrence. That was an unbelievable night in every single way. And I've already moved on. Look, he's going to win this championship barring some kind of weird outside something. So I'm just circling right now East Rutherford. Hunter, Jet, don't do no weird brother stuff where, we're just going to be nice. No. We need you guys to be at your very best and go at it so we can settle the score. Because right now, I'm starting to believe it's unsettled over which Lawrence brother is better than Supercross, Jason. I know that sounds crazy. There are some numbers that can back that up, but I don't think it's clear which one Lawrence brother is best right now.
No, and that's come a long way. I mean, I think at one point Hunter was being branded as an outdoor guy. He couldn't even get into Supercross. He kept getting hurt. Then when he showed up, that wasn't very good. He has come a long way. It's going to be really fun to watch those two head-to-head if they've got solid points leads and don't need to worry about that. And can just race heads up later in the year. All 31 SuperMotocross World Championship events can be streamed domestically. That's here in the U.S. on Peacock. So to subscribe, go to peacocktv.com/sports/SuperMotocross.
And for the fans of SuperMotocross, they'll have a chance to watch it all year long on Peacock, NBC, and USA Network. And for the international fans, you can join in the fun by getting the SuperMotocross Video Pass. Go to supermotocross.tv to purchase access to every moment of the 2023 Supercross season, the Pro Motocross season, and of course Super Motocross live events in one place. Plus, get over 800 plus hours of archived races.
Okay, another big interview, the biggest of all. We're joined by Ken Roczen, who is the man of the hour or the week, maybe the story of the season. Ken, look, there's an old adage in racing: when you're winning, the phone never stops ringing. And then when you're not, the phone doesn't ring. What has this week so far been like for you? Are you getting blown up?
I mean, it's only been Tuesday, and we've definitely got a couple of interviews out of the way. But honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. And it is such a cool story. And you talked about this a lot in the press conferences the last few weeks, actually. The hours you're putting in. What gave you that drive, that belief to believe someday we could get to this point?
I don't know. I just feel like I was very stagnant in the last couple of years where I was at, and I feel like I needed a big change, and that's exactly what I did with this entire offseason. I mean, that was something that I have never, I don't know if anybody has ever really done, with riding all these bikes and just like, I don't know, it was just very new territory to me. And same with ending up with a decision that I think was big for this whole industry, and I ended up doing it. And I wanted this to work somehow. You know, I really got that spark back, and even though at times it was tough, and sometimes you just feel a sense of like, do I really still want to like grind it out like that? And then absolutely I do. We've had some really long days and nights, but I think you have to go through some of these, even when you don't find anything, to narrow stuff down. And I told Larry, I said, this stuff will pay off, I promise you. And last Saturday night was the night where it paid off.
And when you switched this team, you said, hey, this would be a great story. We all know Suzuki's legacy. They were great, you know, back even when you rode for them in the day. They've certainly been through their lean times now. Is that also a little as if you needed more to fire you up right now? You said you wanted this to be a good story. Does that add even more to this where you've done it? You've helped boost Suzuki's fortunes in a way.
Absolutely. Just for the story alone, I felt drawn to it, drawn to that decision. And just right as I jumped on it, I said from the beginning on, even though there were some things we had to work on, I said, I feel like I can win on this bike. Mm-hmm. And I just fully jumped into the deep end and fully committed to it. I felt drawn to it for some reason.
Yeah, and you've owned the Kickstart Kenny thing, like to the point where you brought the Kickstarter to the podium. Where did this idea come from? That was unbelievable.
I don't know. I kind of just go with the flow, and I just embrace the situations that we're in, right? Like, I know there's a lot of critics out there. I feel like we've been made fun of for, multiple occasions when I stalled the bike on a slow lap or whatever on the track, right? And you would think people... my explanation is, what is so damn funny, or what is there to make fun of? Because we have kick-started a bike way longer than we have freaking electric started it, Like, when you really think about it, I understood that we're the only people out there that are kicking, but
Yeah, we were making fun, or people were making fun of us and whatever, and that just was more fuel to the fire.
Okay, so that leads me to the last piece of this. Going forward, okay, Larry told us today the plan is no more huge bike changes. You've obviously tested the bike on a variety of soils now. What could this lead to over the next couple of months before the end of Supercross?
So I am in a really good spot right now, physically, mentally, with my motorcycle, and Larry's right. Like I haven't really touched anything, and not even clickers. So it's so important for a rider to be able to feel like it is my bike or the rider's bike, right? And know every nook and cranny and whatever it's doing. And that's kind of like what I'm working on right now. I'm able to focus on my riding, look at the track, and the tracks get difficult, especially when you have a bunch of people on the track during the week too, and it gets super ruddy. So I'm actually super busy just improving myself at the moment, and just keep it like that for a couple of weeks and see what happens. I want to be consistent. I'm working on my starts. Just want to kind of put all the puzzle pieces together.
And the craziest part, this is the last thing I want to ask about, the other riders, they all congratulated you, even though technically you beat them on the night. That is unbelievable. What is that experience like?
It's one of the coolest things that I've ever experienced. Honestly, none of those guys had to do it. And of course, they were my teammates and some close friends, but there are other riders that, we most of the time avoid each other, but they came over, and it meant so much to me, and it was such a rad moment and experience. I literally took that all in. It's cool that everybody else saw it and witnessed it, and what a special night and special moment. It made me feel really good.
All right. Well, ride that high into Detroit. Awesome to have another player back in the mix. And enjoy it. But most importantly, I guess, just focus on trying to do it again, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for the time. I know you got a lot to do this week, but you earned it.
All good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And now it's time to welcome in our series statman, Clinton Fowler, for Fowler's Facts. We're going to go heavy on Ken Roczen here. Now, behind the scenes, Roczen had been making huge bike changes. A lot of people were saying he's chasing his own tail. He's in his own head. Any cliche you want. Then at Daytona press day, he told me, no, I'm good now. We have the bike where we want it. Just small tweaks. So I thought maybe Daytona would be a great race, but it wasn't results-wise. I did not see this coming. Clinton, did you see anything in the data that indicated maybe a Roczen, at least podium, if not win, was in the offing?
The data said that it was coming. It shouldn't have been a surprise.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He had been second fastest qualifier for 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So he had the speed. He just hadn't shown it in the main events. If you look at the first 6 weeks, he averaged 8th in qualifying. So there was clearly something, to his point to you. He had clearly found something. He had gotten comfortable. And it just wasn't until Indy that he really put it together in the main event. And in the main event in Indy, he set 3 of the fastest 10 overall laps. So amazing ride, end to end, got that whole shot and just won. So yeah, great ride in Indy for him. Daniel, what did you see from a head perspective? What did you see from Roczen out there?
Well, I just think back to the clip we showed on the broadcast of him going through the whoop section, that just gnarly rut up the middle. His balance, his precision, that was the toughest part of the track, and the way he went through there is what he looked like everywhere. He was just perfect with his balance and his line choice and his placement. So you talk about the speed. I saw a guy who was comfortable on a track that is not very comfortable. My question for you, Clinton, is the gap. It's been a while since Ken Roczen's won. I know Cooper Webb had a little bit of a gap there too, but where are we at with Kenny? How long of a gap was it from win to win?
Yeah, it seemed like a long time, but I think that's mostly because we remember him taking off most of the season last year, right? But it was only 17 races that he had raced that he hadn't won. So not super long, especially when you compare it to some of the other guys' winless streaks that were broken, that are in our field today. You got a guy like Justin Barcia, who had a 55 race winless streak that was broken in 2019, right? Like forever. Even Cooper Webb this year broke a longer one when he won in Tampa, and that was a 20 race one. And Roczen himself had a 25 race winless streak that he ended in St. Louis when he was coming back from his wrist injury. But Weege, the one that kind of sticks out for me is Jason Anderson. I look at last year, Jason Anderson broke a 47 race winless streak, and then he went on to win 7 races. Like, that was just an incredible unlock for him. So, Weege, what do you think? Do you think he's got the capability to pull what Anderson did last year and get a few more wins?
Man, it's still, I know this is crazy to say this on the back end of him just winning a race on the Suzuki, But when Anderson was winning, let's be honest, he's doing it for Monster Energy Kawasaki, which had already had so much success in the series. They were just 2 years removed from winning the title with Eli Tomac. This Suzuki thing is great. It's an awesome story. But to see a straight-up win streak where Roczen is the best guy in the series and is winning 7 or so races or the last 4 in a row like Anderson did last year, that's still a bit of a stretch for me. Be glad to be proven wrong on that one. But it does bring up the whole topic of these long streaks. I think the main thing everybody wanted to know, forget about how long it's been for Roczen. How long had it been since Suzuki had won one of these?
111 races. It had been back to Roczen himself with 2016. So it's been a long time. We won't dive into the full top 10 of them, but Suzuki's had some long streaks. But yeah, longest streak in the history of Supercross at 111 races. You know, there is another manufacturer that's got an active winless streak. Gas has got 41 races. Justin Barcia has been really good lately. He started that streak. He got their first win. Does he end it this year?
Does he pull a Kenny and do it for his manufacturer? Kenny helps Suzuki out. Maybe Barcia helps Gas out and gets him another one. But I think it's very, very close. As long as he stays where he's at mentally right now, he's just aggressively pegged to the limit. If he stays there, yeah, he probably snaps that gas streak too, Clinton.
Okay, always fascinating stuff from you, Clinton. So how about that? We have identified the longest dry spell for a manufacturer in the history of Supercross has now come to an end, with Roczen ending that for Suzuki. You got more stuff lined up for this weekend on Race Day Live?
Always, Weege. We'll have Fowler's film room and a bunch more for you on Race Day Live. Looking forward to seeing you in Detroit.
Okay, that's it for this episode of SMX Insider. We're going to Detroit. Normal times you can watch, just like Indy, 1:30 Eastern will be the start of Race Day Live on Peacock. And then our night show racing starts at 7, also on Peacock. And don't forget, SuperMotocross.com for the exclusive post-race show. And we are here for it. I know every year at Anaheim 1, we say anyone can win. But this is the point you made earlier in this show. We might have a wider variety of potential winners now than we did then.
It's like a reset. All of a sudden, one guy wins and breaks up this top 3 thing that's going on. And my hope is that Anderson and Plessinger and Barcia, of course, I hope that they this week realize that you can win a Supercross. It doesn't have to be a hierarchy 1 through 10. Ken Roczen just proved you can get in there and win. So I hope it's a motivating week, and I hope they bring that fire to Detroit. And Jason, I want another winner. Give me another one. I want another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't have enough contenders for a Supercross win. Daniel will be in the booth. I'll be on the floor announcing this weekend. We'll see you, everybody, in Detroit.